The first thing the human learned about joining the Galactic Coalition was that nobody explained anything until it was far too late to object. One moment he was signing what he assumed were dietary waivers and gravity liability forms, and the next a calm synthetic voice informed him that his participation in the interspecies emotional stabilization program had been approved unanimously. He didn't remember volunteering, but apparently existing within coalition jurisdiction for more than 48 standard hours counted as enthusiastic consent. The second thing he learned was that humans were terrifying. Not terrifying in the obvious way. Not because of weapons or wars or history. Terrifying because the coalition had decided humans were emotionally dangerous. A walking, talking destabilization hazard. Category 9 apex social predators. The highest rating available, shared only with hive queens, elder warbeasts, and one species that had flirted an empire into collapsing from collective heartbreak. He found this out because every alien in the waiting chamber subtly leaned away from him as the designation scrolled across the public display. Some of them swallowed. One of them fainted. He waved awkwardly, which caused two more to recoil as if he'd bared fangs. Before he could ask what any of that meant, a shape stepped into his personal space with startling confidence. Petite. Compact. Upright posture that radiated certainty rather than size. Large eyes, a sharp smile, and a presence that made the room go very quiet. "Human," she said, cheerful and precise. "You've been assigned a lover." "It's me." There was no build-up. No preamble. No warning. Just a statement delivered like a fact of physics. She smiled wider, clearly pleased with herself, and tapped her tablet as if confirming a successful delivery. The human blinked once. Then twice. "I'm sorry, I've been assigned a what?" "A lover," she repeated, patient now, as one might be with a slow learner. "For bonding, regulation, and mutual satisfaction. Standard procedure." She glanced at the surrounding aliens, chin lifting with pride. "I volunteered." The room erupted into whispered panic. Translators crackled. Someone hissed a prayer. The human felt all eyes on him, waiting for something dramatic: rage, dominance, predatory interest. Instead, he rubbed the back of his neck. "I think there's been a mistake," he said. "I was just here for the orientation." Her smile sharpened. "There is no mistake. On my world, assignment indicates compatibility, potential, and social optimization." She straightened, somehow making herself look taller despite clearly not being. "I will be the dominant partner." That was when the panic truly set in. The observer stiffened. Data feeds spiked. Somewhere behind a viewing pane, a researcher screamed. "She's provoking him." Another voice countered. "No, she's asserting control early. It's the only safe strategy." The human missed all of that. He was too busy staring at the word dominant, as if it might change meaning if he looked at it long enough. "I'm sorry," he said carefully. "Did you just say you're going to dominate me?" "Yes," she said proudly. "It is tradition. Smaller partners establish authority. Larger partners provide support, protection, and obedience." She gestured to his frame. "You are extensive." He snorted before he could stop himself. The sound echoed far louder than intended. Several aliens flinched. Her eyes narrowed, clearly misinterpreting the noise. "So," he said, trying to recover, "just to be clear, you volunteered to be my boss?" Her smile returned, triumphant. "In all relevant contexts." The coalition officials watching from behind reinforced glass nearly fainted. A Category 9 predator being offered dominant submission without resistance was unprecedented. Statistically impossible. Entire models began collapsing in real time. The human, unaware of the galactic scale meltdown, raised his hands. "Okay. Look. I don't know how things work where you're from, but humans don't usually, assign lovers. Or dominate them. Or whatever this is." She tilted her head, studying him. "You are resisting." "No," he said quickly. "I'm confused." Confusion was not on her checklist. Confusion implied uncertainty, and uncertainty undermined ritual authority. She stepped closer, lowering her voice with what she clearly believed was intimidating seriousness. Human. I am very good at this. I have trained. I have studied your species' emotional volatility. That made him laugh again, softer this time. Have you? Yes, she said firmly. Humans respond to confidence. That part's true, he admitted. And to clear hierarchy. Debatable. And to smiles, she finished, flashing one that was sharp, bright, and entirely self-assured. Behind the glass, the analysts gasped. A smile. Direct eye contact. Provocation levels off the charts. The human felt something unexpected instead. Not fear. Not dominance. Something closer to amusement. Maybe even admiration. You're very confident for someone who just met me. She puffed up slightly. I am prepared. For what? For you. The room went silent. He cleared his throat. Right. Well, I don't bite. The translator hesitated, then rendered it faithfully. The observers panicked again. She frowned. That is disappointing. My research suggested. I mean metaphorically, he said quickly. I'm saying I'm not dangerous. Her eyes softened, just a fraction. All apex predators say that? He sighed. Great. Somewhere in the Coalition databases, a new subroutine began tracking the situation under a bold red label, uncontrolled variables. The human and the petite alien stood facing each other, both convinced they understood exactly how this was supposed to go, and neither realizing how badly they were about to fail. And for the first time since joining the galaxy, humanity was about to be studied not for what it conquered, but for what it refused to be. If the assignment chamber had been awkward, the observation habitat was worse. It was designed to be neutral, soothing, and adaptable to dozens of species, which meant it looked like a luxury apartment designed by an algorithm that had never lived anywhere. Soft lighting. Adjustable gravity. Furniture that politely reshaped itself when stared at too long. And most importantly, cameras. Dozens of them. Visible. Subtle. Unblinking. The human noticed them immediately. Oh, he muttered. This is one of those things. The petite alien followed his gaze and smiled with satisfaction. Yes. Our bonding will be monitored for accuracy, safety, and cultural enrichment. So, a reality show. She frowned. I do not know this term. That checks out. Behind the walls, the Coalition's Observation Council leaned forward as one. The pairing had already defied probability by not resulting in immediate dominance assertion or catastrophic submission. This phase, cohabitation, was where humans were expected to take control. Slowly. Inevitably. Horrifyingly. The petite alien, unaware of the expectations riding on her posture, set her tablet down and hopped onto one of the elevated platforms in the center of the room. It raised itself obligingly, lifting her another half-meter into the air. She planted her feet apart, hands on her hips, chin high. Human, she announced, voice echoing just enough to feel official. I will now establish relational authority. The human, who had been poking at a beverage dispenser to see if it could make coffee, turned around. You're standing on the couch. It is symbolic, she said. To who? To you. He stared at her. She stared back, eyes sharp, smile confident, body language screaming dominance by training manual. The observers held their breath. Well, he said finally, you've definitely established something. Her eyes narrowed. Submission detected? No, mostly concern for the furniture. Gasps rippled through the control room. Deflection. Humor. A known human tactic used to destabilize opponents emotionally before asserting control. The petite alien hesitated. This was not how the ritual usually went. On her world, larger partners lowered their gaze by now. They acknowledged authority. They complied. She escalated, just as she'd been trained. Sit, she commanded, pointing firmly at a chair. The chair obligingly reshaped itself into something that looked extremely stable. The human looked at the chair, then at her, then shrugged and sat down. Not because he felt dominated, but because standing felt unnecessarily confrontational and the chair looked comfortable. The observers erupted into frantic whispers. He complied? Too easily. Compliance was a prelude. A calm before predation. She nodded, satisfied. Good. You may relax. Way ahead of you, he said, leaning back. Her smile twitched. Relaxation was not part of the expected response pattern. She paced atop the platform, tail flicking slightly in irritation. You are supposed to feel smaller. Emotionally? Yes. I mostly feel confused, he said honestly. And a little judged. She stopped pacing. Judged? Well, yeah. You walked in and announced you're my assigned lover and also my boss. That's a lot to process. That wasn't in her date either. Lovers did not process. They adapted. She glanced at her tablet, scrolling rapidly through notes about human volatility, emotional fragility, and dominance thresholds. Perhaps, she said slowly, you require reassurance. Behind the wall, several scientists nodded vigorously. Yes. Reassurance. A classic lure. She hopped down from the platform and approached him, deliberately invading his personal space. Up close, she was very aware of the size difference. Humans were not just tall. They were broad, dense, contained strength that didn't need to announce itself. It made her pulse quicken despite herself. She smiled again, softer this time, the way her instructors had taught her to when handling unpredictable partners. You are safe. I am in control. He looked down at her, then around at the cameras. Do you actually believe that? She bristled. Yes. He smiled, not sharp or predatory, but warm. Amused. Okay. That single word sent the observation room into chaos. Acceptance without resistance. No struggle. No assertion. The algorithms couldn't classify it. She felt it too, a strange destabilization. He wasn't challenging her. He wasn't submitting either. He was simply letting her be. Humans are difficult, she muttered. Tell me about it, he replied. They stood there for a moment, too close, either sure what the next step was supposed to be. The cameras hummed softly. Somewhere, a betting pool updated in real time, odds swinging wildly. She cleared her throat. We must demonstrate functional bonding. Sure, he said. How? She hesitated. Then, very deliberately, she reached for his hand. It was smaller than his, but steady. Confident. The contact sent a ripple through both of them, hers from the unexpected warmth, his from the realization that maybe this wasn't a joke anymore. The observers froze. Hand-holding. Too early. Too gentle. Where was the domination? The human glanced at her. Is this okay? She swallowed. Yes. For the first time since the assignment, either of them was performing. And across the galaxy, millions of eyes watched as two species completely misunderstood each other in the most unexpectedly compatible way possible. By the third observation cycle, the habitat had become a problem. Not because anything dangerous had happened. Quite the opposite. The data feeds were full of anomalies, low aggression markers, stable emotional baselines, elevated comfort responses. The kind of numbers that made coalition scientists argue quietly and rewrite hypotheses at alarming speed. Inside the habitat, the problem was simpler. The petite alien was losing control of the narrative. She stood in front of the mirror-like surface of the habitat wall, practicing her posture. Shoulders back. Chin up. Smile firm but authoritative. This was dominance. This was how it was supposed to look. She'd rehearsed it for years, memorized the rituals, internalized the principles. Smaller frame, stronger presence. Assert early. Maintain pressure. Behind her, the human was sitting cross-legged on the floor, assembling something from a kit the habitat had provided after he asked, half-jokingly, if it had anything to do. It was some kind of modular puzzle meant to stimulate cooperation. He hummed quietly to himself, entirely unconcerned with hierarchy. Human, she said sharply, spinning around. You are not paying attention. He looked up. To what? To me establishing authority. Oh, he said. Sorry. You want feedback? Her eye twitched. Feedback was for subordinates. Or equals. She stepped closer, planting herself directly in front of him. You are meant to respond. I am responding, he said. Just not the way you expect. That is the problem. Behind the wall, a senior analyst muttered. She's losing dominance momentum. Another replied. Impossible. She's initiating escalation. Indeed she was. She drew herself up, voice dropping into the tone reserved for ceremonial assertion. On my world, your behavior would indicate readiness for submission. He paused, fingers resting on the puzzle pieces. And on mine, he said gently. It just means I'm comfortable. That stopped her cold. Comfort was dangerous. Comfort meant trust. Trust meant vulnerability. None of that belonged in a dominance framework. She hadn't trained for this. You are a Category 9 apex social predator, she said, almost accusingly. He winced. Yeah, about that. I really wish they'd stop calling us that. It is not a compliment. I know. She stared at him, searching for signs, suppressed aggression, coiled intent, the inevitable moment where he would assert control. Instead, she found tired eyes, relaxed shoulders, and a man who looked more annoyed by paperwork than tempted by power. Why? She asked slowly. Have you not attempted dominance? He considered the question seriously. Because I don't want to. The observation room went dead silent. She laughed once, sharp and disbelieving. That is not how predators function. Maybe not your predators, he said. But humans don't usually want to control the people they care about. The word care landed harder than any threat. She folded her arms. You do not care. We were assigned. Assigned doesn't mean fake, he replied. It just means we didn't choose to start. She looked away, jaw tightening. That wasn't supposed to make sense, but it did. Too much. The pressure she'd been under, the expectation to prove herself, to dominate a being the galaxy feared, had been crushing. Failure here wasn't just personal. It was political. I was selected because I am effective, she said quietly. My species believes affection follows structure. Control creates safety. He set the puzzle aside and stood, careful not to loom. And what if safety comes from trust instead? Her laugh this time was softer. Then everything I trained for is wrong. No, he said. Just incomplete. They stood there, close again, the cameras forgotten. She searched his face for mockery and found none. Only patience. It was unsettling in a way no threat could be. I was afraid, she admitted, the words surprising her as much as anyone else. If I did not dominate you quickly, you would overwhelm me. That you would take control because that is what humans do. He shook his head. We've been trying to outgrow that reputation for a long time. In the observation room, a junior scientist whispered. He's reframing the power dynamic voluntarily. Someone else muttered. That shouldn't be attractive. But it was. She exhaled slowly, shoulders lowering for the first time since they'd met. If I stop, she asked, will you take over? He smiled, small and sincere. Only if you ask? That broke something in her, in the best possible way. The dominance posture collapsed, replaced by something real. She sat down on the edge of the platform, suddenly feeling very small, not in body but in certainty. This pairing, she said, has not followed protocol. Good, he replied. Protocols don't usually account for people. She glanced at the cameras, then back at him. They are expecting something. Yeah, he said. Us too. She hesitated, then reached out again, this time not as a test or ritual, but because she wanted to. He took her hand without hesitation. No hierarchy. No performance. Just connection. Behind the wall, the Coalition's systems flagged the moment as a critical failure. Or a breakthrough. No one could quite tell which yet. The intervention arrived precisely when neither of them was paying attention to the cameras anymore. The habitat lights brightened a fraction too much, the universal sign that authority was about to intrude. A panel in the far wall dissolved into translucent clarity, revealing a semicircle of Coalition officials, analysts, and cultural specialists packed shoulder to shoulder. Some looked anxious. Some looked offended. One looked genuinely delighted, which worried everyone else. The human sighed. I'm guessing this is about us not doing it right. The petite alien straightened instinctively, old training snapping back into place for half a second before she caught herself. She did not step away from him. That, alone, caused several heart rates to spike. Pairing 9H Delta, intoned a senior coordinator, voice echoing with bureaucratic gravitas. Your bonding metrics are inconsistent. Inconsistent how? The human asked. Your dominance indicators are non-functional. That sounds serious, he said. Should we be worried? Yes, several officials said at once. One added, but not in the way you think. A screen lit up behind them, flooding the habitat with graphs and shifting data. Emotional stability, optimal. Aggression levels, negligible. Attachment markers, rising steadily. Satisfaction indices, well above baseline. The numbers were excellent. This should not be possible, a xenopsychologist muttered. Without a clear hierarchy, emotional entanglement should collapse into chaos. The petite alien lifted her chin, not in dominance, but in quiet defiance. It has not. No, the human agreed. It's been nice. That word again. Nice. Entire empires had fallen because of less. The coordinator cleared their throat. According to Coalition doctrine, a Category 9 apex social predator must either assert dominance or be contained by a dominant partner. Neither has occurred. Maybe, the human said carefully. The doctrine's wrong. Silence slammed into the room. The petite alien felt her pulse quicken. Saying that out loud was dangerous. Challenging Coalition classification was not something junior specialists survived. She squeezed his hand once, a silent question. He squeezed back. Our data, he continued, nodding toward the graphs, says we're stable. Happy. If dominance was required, this shouldn't work. But it does. A murmur rippled through the officials. One analyst whispered, they're bonding through mutual agency. Another responded, that's not a variable we measure. Perhaps, the petite alien said, surprising herself with how steady her voice was. Humans do not dominate by force. Perhaps they dominate frameworks. Every eye turned to her. Explain, the coordinator demanded. She took a breath. Humans do not seize control. They invite it to dissolve. They refuse the roles assigned to them until the system breaks around them. The human winced. When you put it like that, we sound exhausting. Several analysts laughed despite themselves. The tension cracked. Your relationship, said the delighted official, leaning forward, has produced unprecedented engagement across the Coalition. Viewership metrics rival diplomatic crises. So it really was a reality show, the human muttered. Yes, the official said brightly. Congratulations. The coordinator looked torn between horror and inspiration. We cannot classify this pairing. Then don't, the human said. Let it be what it is. The petite alien stepped forward. I volunteered to dominate a predator. Instead, I found a partner who never tried to overpower me. She smiled, softer now, warmer. I consider this a success. The data chimed in agreement. After a long, heavy pause, the coordinator exhaled. Very well. Classification update pending. The screen shifted. The old designation flickered. Category 9 Apex Social Predator, revised. The new label settled into place. Emotionally uncontrollable variables. The human squinted. Is that better or worse? Yes, the coordinator said. The officials withdrew, already arguing, already rewriting textbooks. The wall faded back to opaque calm. The lights dimmed to something gentle and personal again. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Well, the human said finally, guess we broke interstellar psychology. She laughed, genuine and unguarded. On my world, that would make us legendary. He looked at her, really looked at her, not as an assignment, or a study, or a danger. So, what now? She considered the question carefully. No script. No protocol. Just choice. No, she said. We continue. Not because we were told to. Because we wish to. He smiled. Not dominant. Not submissive. Just human. Across the galaxy, humanity's reputation shifted quietly, irreversibly, not as conquerors, not as monsters, but as something far more disruptive. Partners who refused to play the game,